All right, y'all. What's going on, everybody? We are back for another hot fire track. I got my belligerent hoodie. I told you I'm like a little baby. It's the middle of the summer. I got a hoodie on, but you see it belligerent. All right, this is one of one as of now, but you got to get ready. Even though I'm not no super fashion person. I mean, Instagram may say otherwise, but I'm really not. But I do know in the fashion world, it's like you get ready for winter time. You design winter stuff, fall, winter, in the spring, summer. This is summer. This is gonna come out in the fall. Am I hot? A little bit. But I want to get this off real quick. And plus, I ain't got no haircut, so I got the hat. We just kind of doing it like that for the day. All right. So last week we finished off with track 4, which was the importance of the making the choice of being an advocate for a black man. Whether you are the black man or whether you are not, you can still be an advocate for them, which leads into another track, which kind of piggyback similar off that topic about the importance. Well, let me get a title first and then do it like that. So today's title is Millennial. Here's me to stand up and be assertive. All right. It's a title, so don't get me on the grammar police. I got an English degree. Don't try to be like, oh, the grammar. It's a podcast. Relax, because some of y'all will do that. All right. The meme read for this week: if you're not gonna stand up for yourself, will. All right. Inspiration for this week's come from, where is it? My inspiration for this week comes from myself. I'm a very upfront, frank individual. And, this episode is also going to discuss the difference between being blunt and being rude, because there is a difference. And I think, and have I been rude? Absolutely. I think a lot of times people who are assertive, we come off as rude, and sometimes we are. Inspiration comes from a quote that I liked and it said, "We not waver to say a blunt no when push comes to shove. Once we handle the truth, it must be without ifs and buts. The air ought to be clean and the water clear. Since haggling with transparency is not in the cards, let us step down from the traditional it is what it is and definitely go for resilience." And we talked about resilience a few weeks ago. And then that video with that girl, she'd be like, "Y'all weak in the knees, stand up." This goes with that too. And then my last inspiration is my guest and her amazing podcast. So I've been ranting for a little bit. So let's go ahead and get into my guest today. All right. Tell the people what's your name, where you're from, and what you do.
Hi, everybody. My name is Amber. I am known on the World Wide Web as She's So Blunt. I do work a 9 to 5, but my 5 to 9 would be podcasting over at She's So Blunt podcast, as well as influencing and digital creation in all forms on all internet spaces.
Okay, good, good, good. So, we'll get into your podcast in a minute. So first of all, when you hear the word assertive, what's the first thing that comes to mind?
Blunt. Blunt.
Okay.
Yeah.
When you hear the phrase stand up, what's the first thing that comes to mind?
Like belief.
Okay. And then I'm gonna ask you because it's on the list. So when you hear the word blunt, what comes to mind?
Frank.
All
Honest.
right. Good. So I went to dictionary.com. It says that assertive, having or showing a confident and forceful personality, stand up, erect, or upright, and then blunt, uncompromisingly forthright. All right. So if y'all didn't know, y'all got a new word to add to your repertoire. So when it comes to blunt and being blunt and assertive, I know the answer, but I got to ask for the audience. Do you consider yourself blunt and assertive?
Absolutely.
Have you been like that your whole life, or is it something you kind of come into?
Yeah, so I think I've been like that my entire life. I've always been really um confident. I've always kind of said what's on my mind. I think in like more of my later years, I've learned to be able to be crafty about that messaging: when, how, where, who, right? Really
Mm,
understanding my audience to know like when is an appropriate time to maybe give this information. And something that I always say on the podcast, like being blunt, it's about telling the truth when the truth doesn't need sugarcoating. That's exactly what it's about. It's not about anything else. It's just the hard truth, the raw, real. And I am a person who feels like I want that for myself so I can hold myself accountable in the way that I navigate in this thing we call life. And I want to hold my friends, family, and people who come in contact with me to that same standard.
Okay. Good answer. I like that. So now when it comes to being, you said you've been in pretty much your whole life. And this is something that I think I know it's been for me. Have you ever struggled with don't need a comment? Like this situation doesn't need me to say anything as bad as I want to.
Ooh, I struggle with that every day.
Same,
I
same.
struggle with that every day. I think, again, it goes back to like reading the room. I think sometimes too, one thing that I learned is like understanding why someone is coming to you and sharing information with you. Not everyone needs feedback in that moment. Sometimes
Mhm.
people just need a listening ear. And so I've learned to dial back how quickly I am to respond and try to listen, right? And say like, okay, like why is this person coming to me? Maybe they just want to vent. Maybe they don't need someone telling them they made a bad decision. Maybe they just need a genuine friend. And so I've learned to kind of step back outside of like my go-to like response and say, okay, how can I analyze the situation to make sure that I am also showing up as a good person and a good friend before I even give feedback?
Good answer.
It's hard
Okay,
though.
so
It's
now
hard.
guess. Oh no, it's very very hard, and especially somebody who the thing with casting is everyone's doing it right, but the beauty of it is some of us because I'm not gonna say everybody because everybody's not called to do it, but some of
Amen.
us who are called in this space, some of us who are called in this space, I feel like when God's giving you a anything you've been given, you're gonna struggle with learning how to maintain and how to be disciplined with it. And so I
Absolutely.
think a lot of for people like us in this space, it's like we think we could easily get online and just say whatever for clickbait. We could say for whatever we want to get some look at us and try to get attention. But I pride myself in not doing that because I easily could have. I could have been on here just saying whatever just so somebody that I can get the eyes looking my way. But I like that I put it in a position where because at the end of the day, these people feel like they know us. I'm sure people that they reached out to you and you be like, ma'am,
Yeah.
sir, you don't know me like that.
Yeah, I just my last episode, it was called, I made a hard decision, and it's a very personal episode. And in the episode, I had to say like, I love y'all, but like y'all don't know me in real life. Like I'm not your friend. Like I'm your friend, but like I'm not your friend. Like I don't know y'all. And so
Right.
a lot of it too is when you kind of expose your life and you talk about different things, people feel this connectedness to you and they feel like they know you. And so it's almost this pressure to feel like you owe people answers and you have to do things in a certain way because people are listening and people take what you have to say for face value.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, so what are the topics on your podcast? Because some people may say she's so blunt. I'm sure she's going to be blunt, and we know you're very transparent. But can you give us some examples of a few things that you may come up on your podcast in the future or has already been on your podcast?
Absolutely. So I try to talk about things that are important to me and things that I feel like millennials and even like Gen Z are struggling with, like lessons that I've learned that I think would help other people that I wish I would have known. And so I do a lot of personal episodes about some of my life experiences. I've done an episode on just my journey with being adopted and understanding like my identity. Last season, which was season one, the podcast actually launched in January. That season I did a mini series on mental health, and I didn't realize how passionate I was about mental health and promoting therapy and promoting like
Mhm.
you really trying to get into a place where you understand what you need in that season and how to get it until I started talking more about it. And then it really opened up the door to realize how many people actually struggle with this. And then I wanted to share resources, right? So I did a mini series on that. This season is really about making hard decisions. I think personally, I've shared recently that I'm kind of transitioning, and me and my husband are now separated. So I've been very vulnerable this season about things that have been really difficult, including navigating on the internet and holding this space of podcasting, holding this space of content creator, while also maintaining a personal life and a real job that actually
Right.
pays all of my bills. So
Mhm.
I think this season is really about like authenticity and like what that looks like and how to be able to kind of balance what you share, how you share it. And in order to make sure you're holding on to your own personal space, but also showing up in an authentic way where you can connect with your audience.
Absolutely. And that's the thing. So, and this is my question because I'll put myself on blast because you only what this is your second season. So I'm 6 seasons in. I
Oh,
started
wow.
in I started in 2018, and you made a comment about kind of sharing personal things because that's in this space. That's what we're gonna do. Unless we doing the TMZs or the Breakfast Club, you don't really have to share your personal life. But in
Right.
podcasts like ours, we share our personal life. Have you lost friends or anybody who wanted to just not really be around you no more? Maybe because you shared an experience that was your truth and they didn't like it.
Yeah, so I haven't gotten to the place where I've lost friends,
I
yet.
have. I have.
Um, not yet, and I hope I don't. But like my real friends too, I also understand the boundaries that come with what I will and won't share. And if there is something that I'm ever going to share in any light that is reflective of someone that they will take personally, I do try to like be mindful of that and talk to them about it before the episode. I haven't had that. A lot of things that I share too are about experiences that have happened, and I've had time to heal from those experiences as well as move on from those experiences. And something I tell people all the time, listen to my podcast, it's like, look, this is my truth. Like, it doesn't take away from some other person's perspective, some other person's version of the story. I don't care about that. This is my shit. This, I don't know if I can say that, but like, this is my podcast. And so, what I want to bring to the forefront about my experiences, my emotions, and the things that I experienced at that time, as well as the accountability factor and the role that I played in those situations, I'm able to do that, right? And so a lot
Right.
of the conversation isn't necessarily in real time per se, but I do try to be mindful of what I'm saying. Also, I've tried to be mindful to not include names and things like that. You have to be very, I understand you have to be very thoughtful, like in this process. And a lot of times, too, I have friends. Basically, my podcast is now a place where it's like, she's so blunt and friends. And so I'll have friends on the episode where they can give like, whatever topic we're talking about, they can give their version of that story or their version of the experience that we may have shared together. And I
Right.
think that also makes people feel a little more connected to it because I try to create it to be a safe space.
Okay. Good, good, good. And hopefully, and I like I said, and hopefully that doesn't happen to you. Cause some stuff that happened to me, it was just kind of like I didn't even mean it like that. I was just,
Yeah.
and they took it and just, ran with it. But it is what it is. People they're gonna do what they're gonna do. So that
Yeah.
kind of goes into the next segment, which wasn't on purpose, I promise, even though y'all think I'm lying. But what does this have to do with mental health? All right. So according to Be Assertive, according to an article titled Be Assertive, Reduce Stress and Communicate Better. Assertiveness can help you control stress and improve coping skills. Recognize and learn assertive behavior and communication. So then it asks a question, and then we're going to elaborate off of it or go into more depth. It says, by a show of hands, how many of you would have had your mouth slapped for a statement like, yeah, me too, and to your parents, any type of adult? If like somebody, because we're millennials, so and then the younger millennials, so we had those parents, those old school parents. I don't know about yours, but I know mine. Certain things you say is like instantly like talking back,
Yeah.
or it's kind of like just take it or just deal with
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
Um,
the generation that we grew up in.
and it's so good to see. Like I said, my parents, at least, a lot of them have realized a lot of their behaviors aren't the best. Where I have some of my who have parents where it's like, "You all right, ain't you? This is how it's gonna be." And I
Yeah.
think,
It's a hard balance. Also, like, I'm not that tight with my parents like that anyway, but I do think growing up, it definitely put me in a space of feeling like I wasn't able to be heard. And I'm just a child, so I don't get a voice. And you have a roof over your head. What do you have to say about anything? And you have food to eat. So, like, who are you to be complaining? And it's like, I also know like this generation is just very different. Like, we can't go into this generation, parenting the way that we were even parented because it's very different. The access to information, the way that I am hoping that we begin to really have more conversations around mental health, like those things are very real. And at the end of the day, like our parents have to realize like we aren't dolls, like we're not puppets. You guys were raising humans, human people with emotions that may not look like yours, that I'm not here for you to craft me to like fulfill the dreams that you didn't do, right? But like I am an actual person
right,
with my own feelings, my own personality. And I think a lot of times that it literally prohibits like a lot of millennials from feeling like they have a voice to be able to say how they feel about certain things when they feel like that.
Exactly. And that's the thing. So then it says if your style is passive or non-assertive, you may seem to be shy or overly easygoing. You may routinely say things such as I'll just go with whatever the group decides. You tend to avoid conflict. And it say, why is that a problem? It says because the message you're sending is that your thoughts and feelings aren't as important as those of other people. In essence, when you're too passive, you allow others to ignore your wants and needs. It says the internal conflict can be created by past behavior, can lead to stress, resentment, seething anger, feelings of victimization, desire to exact revenge, or doubting or questioning your own judgment. Now, some of these things I've dealt with personally because, and that's why I asked you the question earlier. I said, have you always been super? Because I wasn't. I don't know
Yeah,
what age it was. I found my voice, maybe fifth or sixth grade. I don't know what it was, but then it was just like, and they say sometimes people who grew up in those environments where they feel they weren't heard, and sometimes parents don't even hit you with that, I'm mama, I'm daddy, shut up. Sometimes they just unintentionally blow you off. Like,
right.
oh, you all right, or oh, you're overreacting. So do you feel that this generation as a whole, not as a whole, but just in general, do you feel like we tend to overreact a lot? Just young millennials in general?
I don't know if it's fair to say like we're overreacting because I am a believer that your feelings are your feelings and those are
Mhm.
valid, whether someone agrees with those emotions or not. Those emotions that you are feeling are real. And so I feel like we have to acknowledge people's emotions. I do
Right.
think that a lot of things are heightened when you don't really understand yourself and also where another person is coming from. And so something that I struggle with and I used to like think about is like this person emotionally is feeling like this because you have triggered something in them,
Mhm.
has nothing to do with you. And I think as a generation, if we start to look at things like when people react to certain situations or what someone has said or done, it's more in a response to them, not necessarily to you, right? it's
Right.
it's more about the experiences they've had, the traumas that they have, like. And sometimes like when I tell someone that they've done something, they're like, wait, what? That wasn't even my. Most of the time people will literally be like, wait, what? Like that was not even my intention. And it's
Exactly.
because they don't realize that they've triggered a trauma for me, and I'm over here going crazy, and then I'm spiraling and I'm really upset, and it's like, well, we actually could just have a conversation. I could just tell this person like, hey, that's a really sensitive topic for me, and when you
Mhm.
said that, this is what it did, right? So I don't think we're necessarily reacting. I think that we have to kind of we have to look outside of ourselves and start
Mhm.
to begin to think about how like people are only responding based on their own personal experiences and traumas and childhood, whatever, right? And if we can think about it in that way, I think it would lessen how heightened our emotions get.
And I feel the same way. As times where I felt like, and I just started saying this recently, when somebody was be like, "You're being dramatic" or "You being over the top," I'll agree with you. You're absolutely right, but am I wrong? And I think that's a great way to kind of let them know, like, I may be being dramatic, but am I wrong about the situation? My response may be a little over the top, and it may be
Yeah.
a little much. I'll give you that, but the principle, am I wrong? Then they get quiet.
I don't believe in
So
being dramatic. I like whatever it is what it is. I'm very dramatic. I'm very like animated, over the top, passionate, whatever it is you
same.
want to call me. And I know that about myself. And so because I know that about myself, you
Mhm.
can't use it against me. So it doesn't I don't care if you think that I'm being dramatic.
Right,
In the moment, this is how I feel, and these are my feelings. And
right,
they're not going to change because you think that I took it to level 10 when maybe you would have handled it at a level 3. Well, you said some shit that really like messed me up. So now I'm at 10. And that's what it is. Like, I think too, like when
right.
people understand like their truths and know who they are,
Yeah,
it's not going to affect you like that. Like, I know I'm dramatic. I know I'm extra. I know I'm animated. I know that, that's a lot to do with my personality. But one thing I do try to do too is like, I try to not address situations in the moment, especially situations that make me really angry or upset, because I don't want it to be filled with emotion, because maybe I need time to think about how to respond. Because maybe my response will be totally different if I had some time to sit on it, right? So sometimes it's
Yeah,
like, also, people want that reaction out of you sometimes, to be
they do.
honest.
They do. And it's times where now I find myself like not even responding, and that kills people. And even with the whole dramatic thing, I just feel like you said, I don't care. You can say whatever you want, but people will say about people like us, and then I'm gonna move into the next. They'll say, "Oh, y'all do too much," and I'll be like, "Well, maybe you don't do enough." How about? Did you ever think about that?
Right. You are doing the bare minimum over here, honestly.
So this is an article. I'm not gonna read the full thing, but it's according to respect to a millennial, a boomer, and a Gen Xer. So, well, Gen Zer. It says that this lady, she interviewed her daughter who was a millennial, and she said she learned a few things about how millennials view things. And her daughter is named Trinity, and it says that the difference between young millennials and like the older people, she said that Trinity's core value is justice. She does not care much for the whole because I'm older than you, you must respect me no matter what mindset the generation before us were raised with. It says, I remember as a kid feeling so helpless because I got in trouble for things that adults do all the time. But I didn't think those things out loud because honestly, I would have gotten a beating. But we don't beat our kids. And I can see my parents' generation shaking their head in disbelief that we would not hit or our kids are as a discipline tool. It says, millennials see themselves as equal players. My daughter's generation, she's just the tail end of a millennial. We were raised to have conversations with adults. We trained our kids at an early age that when they meet an adult, they look them in the eye, introduce themselves clearly, and shake their hands. She says, I don't speak for my kids in the doctor's office either. They do. She says, Mark and I do this because we want them to have great communication skills. She says, I want them to be assertive and speak up for themselves. That's the upside. The potential downside is that they see themselves as equal with adults. I say potential because it's not good or bad. It just is what it is. And then it talks about respects the value of us young millennials. And I believe
Mm,
that wholeheartedly. I think we are about respect. I'm a firm believer. Again, my mouth has gotten me in trouble as far as saying things to an adult that was more so a question where, like I said earlier, you couldn't talk back because that was just like, I'm mama, I'm uncle, I'm auntie. You just gonna do this, and that's just how it goes.
yeah.
And I think the podcast space for people like I said, I know for me, is just a way to be open and speak our minds without anybody having to, tell us, no, you can't say that, because podcast is over radio as far as, and I seen people on the show, she was like, I love podcasting because you can say whatever you want. Radio,
Yeah.
you kind of had to,
It's very
put back.
PC.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So with your podcast, obviously you're blunt. I've heard a few episodes. Like I said, I enjoyed it. I think it was a great structure. It was just a flow. It was a conversation, but it still had a message at the end. So with that, what each episode has like a message, right? Or a
Yep.
goal, overall goal.
Yep.
Now with you, and I like how you say you kind of turn into She's So Blunt and Friends. Do you
Yes.
do you plan on, as far as moving forward with the show, do you plan on making it to where you don't, or do you, because you don't really have visuals, right?
I don't. I don't have visuals yet. I have been asked and asked and asked and asked again. But you have to think about it. I just started this whole
I get it.
journey
Oh, I trust me, I get
January, right? And so I think also life is lifing and life is
it.
happening. And so while life is happening, I have to be able to give myself some grace. There are a
Mm-hmm.
lot of things that I wanted to do for season two that just not able to do, just because life shit is just happening. But I do want to get to a place where I would love to be to the place where it's a full on production, to be honest. Like I would love that for the show. I just don't know when and how that's going to happen. Right now, I'm just focused primarily on pushing the best content that I can, and trying to see like what are people engaging with, what do they like the most. And I just separated like my personal page and podcast page just to make sure that I had a space just for the podcast.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's the thing, because when I found you, because I had saw you on the explore page, that's when I had found you, and I was just like,
Oh,
okay, let me check
really?
this. Yeah, I found nobody sent you to me. I saw you on the explore page, and I was just like, let me check, because I listen to podcasts, so I was just kind of
Yeah.
checking it out. I'm like, okay. Because it was like, when I saw your page, I thought you was one of those people that was already like on the Joe Budden networks or something. That's what I thought.
No, I wish. Lord, if you hear us.
It's
No,
coming. I see, like you definitely got it. Like, and I'm not, and I don't just hype people up. Like, I was like, I thought you was already there. So I was like, oh, okay.
no.
I'm like, let me get some, let me get on, let me get some, whatever she got going, because she had it. I mean, and I tell people all the time, y'all people that's starting now, y'all way better than when I started. Because I started, it was just like, sound like I was recording in the alley or something. But I'm not gonna delete those episodes. I was told today. I didn't plan on it, but I was reassured, like
Yeah,
keep those there when it
keep it.
gets to where it goes.
And also the people that follow you, they're following the entire journey, right? So something that I've learned even with blogging was like I would get discouraged and I would delete posts or I would stop blogging or I would delete my website like really crazy. Like I started this journey in 2016 and I was never consistent. This year is probably the most consistent I've ever been. And I probably only had 2 months of where I haven't been doing what I needed to do just due to
Mhm.
personal like transitions. But I wasn't as consistent. If I was consistent, I'd have the 80,000, 80K followers or 90K followers. But it also humbles me and shows me like what I can do when I'm actually consistent. And so you got to keep that stuff because also the journey, like I have people reach out to me all the time. Like I started following you when you were blogging like 5 years ago, 4 years ago.
Mhm.
And it's very rewarding to see like people also watch you go through this journey and really kind of
Right.
like tag along life with you. So you got to keep that stuff.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And with that, so it's good to see, because that was my next question. I was like, do you ever feel, because I know I have struggled with or discouraged, that you feel like, and we don't want to get into the compare game, but you sometimes, it's just human nature. You may see somebody who you'll be like, and it's not to bash anybody, but just human, like you may like, dang, like, I feel like sometimes I should be up there and I'm not there yet. Or do you
Yeah.
like, yeah, okay, yeah, okay. So, and that's the
Yeah,
thing.
I mean, it's tough. Like I think that now, and I'm going to talk about this. There's going to be an episode on the show in a couple weeks more about like content creation and this whole like viral place of overconsumption of creation of content. And I think it's so much content to consume now. It's very different than it was 5 years ago, even 3 years ago, a year ago, right? Before like 2 years ago, there was no TikTok. And so I think it's really, really difficult because, some of these content creators, they've been creating forever, right? And I think too, like now you have folks, they'll do one video and boom, like they'll
Right.
get 20,000 followers or they'll do a couple reels. And it almost feels like, gosh, I've been putting in the work. I've been trying to build this community. And like these people use trending audio in a reel and now they're viral. And what I try to think about all the time is like everybody is on their own journey, right? I even have a friend like she wasn't even posting on Instagram. She started posting on Instagram and she's passed me in like 3 months. And I'm happy for her, right? Because her journey is just that it's her journey. My journey for me, I actually don't get caught up in the following number anymore. My goal was to always, like, my goal was like, look, I just want to make like 10K by the end of the year. And that was like a goal and it was a loose goal. And I ended up doing it in 4 months.
Oh,
But
congrats.
thank you. And I was very proud of that. But for me now, it's not really about the number in the following because that's easy. Like it's easy for you to get a viral video and people to follow you in a moment in time, right? But like for you to captivate a follower, like somebody that is loyal to your community, the person that shares your episodes, the person that comments, the person that reposts, the person that reviews, like that is the stuff that I care about. Like the way that I am building a community of people to have a safe space to talk about the things in a transparent way that they think are important to them, whether it's about your like identity, whether it's about mental health, whether it's about life transition, whether it's about money, whether it's about sex, whether it's about relationships, what the relationship with yourself, like your own self-discovery journey, understanding who you are, authenticity, whatever that may be, that is my goal. My goal is so when people come to my page, they feel like they found a safe space and they have found a relatable space where they can like listen to an episode with me and feel like we're in the same room and we're just having a conversation as brother and sister or two best friends or a group of friends all communicating together. Because at the end of the day, I tell people all the time, everybody just is all going through the same shit. Like in the grand scheme of things, everybody is all going through the same thing, right? And so it's nice to have a relatable space where you can connect and be like, damn, like I thought I was the only one feeling like that. Okay, I'm glad I'm not the only one. That's what I want to do. I don't care about the number.
Yeah, and that's good. And I think that's hopefully that we're gonna use it as the bit for the episode to pull up, just getting people to stop worrying about that number,
Yeah,
because it's people who listen to my stuff, and then I was like, they was like, yeah, that's why I tapped into your page. I said, did you enjoy it? It was like, yeah. They said, I don't agree with everything you're saying, but I agree with a lot of it. And that's the point. I don't want everybody to agree with everything I be saying. I know I say
exactly.
some wild stuff, and I'm okay with that because I just want us to all be able to respectfully disagree.
Yep.
All right, so let's move to the weekly sabbatical, which we know that this is the time to reflect and just kind of look back on some things. So the first question is, and it kind of was already answered. It was just like, where do you get your inspiration for your topics? And you just kind of like lifes. And um, I'll ask this. So from season 1 to season 2, how big was the break?
Okay, so the break was actually very short. The break was only, I believe, 3 weeks. It was
Okay.
probably it was a 3 to 4 week break, so about a month. And last season, I did a lot of recording ahead of time. I was really ahead of the game. I kind of had a layout for what I want every topic to cover, like what I wanted to cover for every topic and who I wanted to help me cover it, whether it's by myself or with like a friend. This season is a little more in the moment. I'm posting topics that are more relevant to the now, even when they don't feel good, right? The episode that comes out tomorrow, some episodes come out every Tuesday. So the episode that comes out tomorrow, at the beginning of the episode, it was actually me recording weeks ago, and I stopped because I was in such a bad space. I was like, I can't do this. I'm not even gonna bring like this kind of energy into the podcast. And then when I went back, and I'm like, nah, we gonna keep that because that's like real shit. Like there are some days I'm not here and I'm mentally not able to be cheery and fun and like with all the things that are
Yeah, that's
happening in the
okay.
world, like that's real. Like it's a very challenging dynamic to navigate through. And then you add your personal life, and then you add other like real life things that are happening, and you kind of get in this space of feeling like, okay, I feel depleted. I feel depleted, right? But I want the episodes to capture the realness in those moments. I don't want to be a robot. I don't want to get on there every single week and act like I'm cheery and it's fine and it's well, because there are a lot of weeks it's not. And I want to be a real person. And I believe that is the name of the episode tomorrow. The name of the episode is um, Just Be a Real Ass Person. That is the name of the episode for tomorrow.
Okay.
So I
And
hope
then
you tune in.
oh no, I'm gonna listen to it. I'm gonna let you know. I'm gonna
Yeah.
post it on my story, and I'm gonna be like
Okay.
tapping in. I'm gonna do like that. Um,
Yes.
what I will say is, I think that podcasts like this, it has its pluses and its negatives, right? Or positive and negatives. Podcasts like ours is like we can record 5 episodes in one day if we wanted to.
Yeah,
Whereas most where they kind of do the current events is like they're gonna get the buzz in general just because they're talking about something that literally happened.
exactly.
And I think that the beauty of podcasts like this, especially in your case, because you're still strictly audio, so people already know, oh, she only doing audio. Now,
Yeah.
with me, as I didn't kind of transition, a good 90% of my episodes now are visual, but I still have one like the one, the first track was audio only with just me. And then I had another one this season, which was audio with one of my homeboys. But I will ask this, so with you just kind of reflecting and looking forward, because one thing about me being the creator that I am, I don't believe in telling everybody what you're working on. That's just how
Yeah.
it is.
Yeah.
But I will ask, do you see yourself? Because with my and I'll have a friend sprinkled here and there just because I like those peer conversations. But a lot of people that I interview now, I don't know them. So, do you see yourself moving into interviewing or talking to people you don't know, or just kind of keeping it with just like people you know personally?
Yeah, I've actually, it's funny you asked me that because on the drive home, I was driving home yesterday, and I was actually contemplating this because I have had people ask, and I think in the beginning, I also was very open to being like, yeah, if you want to be a guest, like, great. I think for the things that I talk about and the way that I connect with people, if someone is going to be on the podcast, I feel like I have to know them. And I think that's the case because there's a different dynamic in the conversation. Also, a lot of these conversations are very personal. So the things that I talk about, like I'm talking about people who are coming to terms with how they were loved as a child or personal relationships that they've been in, sexual relationships that they've been in, traumas. Like I have someone who is talking about like their journey through sobriety and she's very young. And so I feel like those topics, I want to create again a safe space where people feel good about having that kind of conversation with me because one, they know me, and two, they trust that I'm going to make sure that when the episode does go out, it's presented in a way that highlights the beauty of their journey and it does it safely, right? And so I can't do that as well. And I know myself, I just can't, I don't know if I can commit to doing that as well with people that I don't know yet in this season. I never say never, and I tell people all the time, I don't never say never.
Yeah,
But I
same,
don't know
same.
what is going to happen in 2 years, in 3 years, in 5 years, right? We could be in totally different spaces. I could have a whole production squad. I don't know. But in this space right now, a lot of the conversations are super personal. And because I don't do current events, because I don't care about current events, like I care about
Same.
them because they're happening, but like that's not my platform. And I really love what you said earlier, like
Right.
just sticking to your truth. Like I don't want to do the viral topics because I know it's going to get me, like 40,000 views. I don't want to do the things that are easy. Like I don't want to talk about the topics that everybody's talking about because I know it's going to give me the likes and the comments and the follows. Like I want to talk about things that I care about because there's a genuineness that comes across when I talk about these things. I don't give a damn about the city girls. I don't care about Carisha and P. Diddy. Now it's entertaining. Don't get me wrong. I will kiki with y'all, but like I don't care about that. And I also tell people I don't speak really on a lot of political issues. I have my feelings about them. I discuss those privately. This is not the place for that. And I'm not apologetic about that either. Like I know what my space is for and the space that I hold, and I have to stay true to that, right? And that's just what it is.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And so it's funny because you said all of that, and a lot of stuff you saying, you see me now, and I agree with wholeheartedly. I'm the same way. Like it's funny to laugh at, and then certain things it's just like this not the time for that. And now I have seen people, if you wanted to do that, which I mean I don't do, but I learned this a long time ago from one of my homeboys who like super podcast guru, live off of it, right? And he said don't mix in topics. If you want to have a podcast where you talk about this, because you can have more than one podcast, because I'm starting to see that's starting to be a thing, which is why I have Bar for Bar with Izzy Baker every Sunday on the Players Network. But I think that you need to be able to differentiate. Like, okay, over here I'm talking
Absolutely.
about like, with Bar for Bar, we analyzing song lyrics and why did this artist say this and this and that. But that won't be over here. The only thing that's
Right.
consistent is me.
Right.
So, and I agree with that wholeheartedly, which is funny because my next question was, is there a difference between being blunt and being rude, which we talked about earlier? And some people like your tone and just your passion would instantly say, oh, she's kind of rude. I don't see you as rude, but I'm sure if you ain't heard it yet, it's coming.
I mean, I
Uh
haven't heard it. I haven't heard it lately. But I mean,
lately.
not lately. Not lately. I've been pretty nice. People been treating me pretty nice. But I think there is a difference between being rude and being blunt. I think again, being blunt is telling the truth when the truth needs to be told. But I think it's a way you craft how and when you do that. And I think I'm very thoughtful, or at least I try to be with every intention to be thoughtful about that in my own relationships and in the way I tell my story. Rude is just you don't give a damn. Like you just saying anything for anything, you doing stuff for likes, you saying stuff because you feel like it needs to be said with no like care of your delivery in it. And I'm not like that. Like I'm not a rude person. I don't ever intentionally want to hurt people. I feel like rude people hurt people. And that's never my intention to hurt an individual or ruin a friendship or a relationship by my words. I never want to do that. And I will share with you when I first started blogging, I don't want to use the word negative. I don't think I was negative, but I did share stories and craft things from a place of bitterness and anger. And I do know that it kind of resonated. It resonated with people because y'all love mess and y'all love drama. So people ate it up.
Right.
But at the end of the day, like I feel like it was a knock on my character because people looked at me as a very mean girl or a very angry person. And I had to kind of like start thinking about how I wanted to rebrand myself to make sure that if I'm delivering a message, I'm doing it with the best intention possible. And now, if my intention is well and you misconstrue that, or you take whatever it is you want to take from that, that's not my responsibility. Now, that's the part about being blunt. I don't really care. Like, I know if my intentions are pure and I try my best to do things the right way, people gonna find something wrong with everything. Like you gonna always be the villain in somebody's story. And I tell you that all the time. So like I'm not afraid to be the villain in your story, but I know that my intentions were pure going into it.
And see, and that's the thing, because sometimes I see, and I struggle with that sometimes, because I'll say stuff and I'll be like, oh, I don't think I need to comment on this. I'm like, no, I just got to say something. But I don't have to say nothing. It's a lack of discipline.
Yeah.
And I seen a post, and this one was funny because I know her personally, but like she made a post. She said, anytime I see somebody on the microphone talking, I instantly scroll past it. So I said, and I had commented on it, and she was like, she said, not yours. She said, because you actually talk about stuff, but these other ones, they just get around and just say whatever. And
Yeah.
you can tell. And sometimes those conversations, they just use that clip on purpose, and then you go into the episode, and that's not what they were saying. Do you ever feel tempted to post a clip? Because I have. But ever feel tempted to post a clip that you know is not meant like that, but you know if they just hear this 1 minute of this, they're gonna think it's that just for attention in a sense, because even though it's not that, because sometimes I feel like someone to bring the eyes so they can hear the whole conversation, be like, oh, but have you ever felt
No, no. And I think it's really different too when you don't do visual, and when you only do audio, right? So I've just gotten to a place where I'm posting audio like clips from the episode. The first season was mostly graphic lays of the episode and quotes from the episode. So I don't experience that because my podcast is not set up that way. And I don't ever want to do that because I feel like if you take any clip out of my episode, it will not be it's not clickbait. Like the only thing that I did feel like was very like telling and I used it as a clip was when I talked about my personal relationship and the status of such. Because people were asking and they wouldn't leave me the hell alone about it. And so I'm like, well, here's the clip. This is what, because the title of the episode is I Made a Hard Decision. So it's not very clear about what the episode is about if you're not an avid listener. But for all the people
right?
that were asking, I wanted to make it very clear about what it was about. So for me, I don't really want to ever get to a place where I feel tempted to do the clickbait thing, even if I went to a visual place, because it doesn't do me any good. And I think it takes away from like my brand, which is to be authentic. Like you either are going to rock with the episode and you are going to feel like it's relatable or you're not. There are a lot of people that listen to episodes here and there because not every topic is relatable for every person. And I think that
Right.
is where the downfall is. I think everybody wants every single person to listen to every single episode. And like, I listen to podcasts, and there are podcasts I listen to every single week. Like, I am a huge Crime Junkies fan and a huge Morbid fan. I'm going to listen to those every week because I know what I'm getting. I'm not going to listen to a personal story that I don't resonate with. So some of the other
Right.
podcasts that I love listening to, um, it's like a good mom's it's a good mom's thing. I can't remember the name of it from my head. Or what I know for
Right.
sure is B Simone's new podcast with Megan Brooks. Like I will only click on the episodes that are relatable. I'm not clicking on an episode because you put an audio clip up of like 30 seconds that you feel is like gonna pull me in. I'm gonna read the notes on your episode. I'm gonna actually read the notes
Okay.
and I'm gonna figure out if I can resonate with it. And like my expectation too of my listeners, it's not for you to listen. I would love for you guys to listen to every episode, but I know every episode isn't gonna resonate with you. Like I know there's some relationship episodes that I get a bigger mix of men and women. There are episodes that are more geared toward just women. That just is what it is, and I kind of know that going into it. So no.
Yeah. Okay. So then it is according to 3 reasons you need to be more assertive. So this is the bulk of the episode and the meat, because I really want us young millennials to be more assertive. For those people who said what happens when you're passive and you just let stuff build up. And as we kind of unpack, some stuff is from our childhood, some stuff is just in general, we just naturally like that. But there's a difference between being assertive and blunt and not rude, because I think a lot of people are rude and like straightforward what they want. But like she said earlier, it's and we hear it all the time. It's not what you say, it's how you.
Yeah.
90% is how you, your actual tone, 10% is what you actually say. So it's how you word things. And like she said earlier, we talked about timing. We talked about, does this really need a response? Because some stuff don't. And, knowing when and how to incorporate it in creative space. All of us who are listening, well, we are obviously, but everyone who's listening is not a creative. And they're not going to put this into a podcast, a song, or whatever, right? But
Right.
you still need to know to stand up for what you believe in, you want in life. And because time is short, and the way this world is going, you don't want to die full. You want to die empty with everything you was meant to do, meant to say. You want it all to be out there. All right. Some cases you may have to ask for forgiveness later, but I'd rather you do that then keep it to yourself. All right. So, according to the source, according to 3 reasons you need to be more assertive, it says the first one, knowing what someone wants is as valuable as knowing what your own limitations are. Being able to clarify the objective says, let me just make sure I'm clear, shows your dedication to the job being done properly. Likewise, being willing to say, I am not sure I can get this done in this way, but I am certain I can get that done. Provide your team, customers, and clients with the reason to trust you. Like, for instance, you're not a business owner. I like when it says, I'm not sure I can get this done this way. Some of us, I used to be, overexert ourselves for people. We know we don't feel like it. We don't have time, but we still be like, oh, I can do it. Oh, yeah, I got you.
Yeah.
Then you mad, you frustrated because you didn't
Yeah.
overexerted yourself. You trying to take care of somebody's kids. You know you can't right now. You had stuff planned. And I'm sorry, people say it's selfish, but even if I feel like if I planned a nap today, that's my plan. So I can't do what you need me to do because I'm like, what already planned? Because if I don't get my nap, that throw off my day. Now I had something, say for instance, this episode, right? I want to be full of energy. You
Yeah.
had me do this. I needed to take my 30, 40-minute nap to kind of recharge. But because you had me do this, now I come here with you and I'm groggy and I'm tired and I'm not doing full, and it's not full of life. And now my content, everybody like and DMing me, texting me, was you all right this episode? You seemed a little off. Now I'm losing my audience because of you.
But is that a
So
them problem or a you problem? That's a you problem because you don't have boundaries to say no.
exactly. Now that ain't me because people know I ain't gonna. I halfway answer. That ain't me. I halfway answer the phone.
Well, I'm
If
just
I even,
saying for like the
yeah,
listener,
yeah, yeah.
that's a you issue because you have to create boundaries to be able to understand. Again, it's all about knowing yourself. So you got to know yourself.
Exactly. It's the second one says saying what you want, need, and expect can create success and satisfaction for you. Being able to say that you're not comfortable with a certain task, time frame, order, or suggestion opens the door for dialogue and shows people that you're open to talk, but not willing to sacrifice the integrity of your own work or the performance or whatever for the sake of niceness. I think that is about any relationship in general, too. As far as saying, like, say you dating somebody, you like, look, I want this to be like this. We can't go there. That's fine. Then maybe we need to let this go. Or, telling the job quickly, like, y'all can't come in tomorrow. This is just not how it's going to be. Or, have you ever been in a situation, which I'm sure you have, where you had to rightfully and respectfully say, hey, this is how it's going to be. And how you take it is how you take it. Can you think of any example off the top of your head?
Yeah, like all the time. Something I've been sharing too recently is like I'm not the strong friend in this season right now. And I'm normally the strong friend. I'll take on all the emotion of the friends, of the friend groups. I will give the advice. I will be the listening ear. I will offer feedback when you want it constructively. Like I will do all the things. I will show up for you. I will celebrate you. I will go out of my way. This season in my life is not that season. I'm not the strong friend this season. I need a little more support and I need a little more love this season. And I've been very
Right.
transparent with my friends. I've also been very transparent on the internet. Like I'm not that person right now. And so I've kind of positioned myself to make sure that people kind of change that expectation for me in this season because I just can't show up in that way. And again, it goes to like me knowing myself and understanding where I'm at. And I think a lot of the challenges too is like people don't know themselves and you keep overextending yourself and you keep stretching yourself thin and then you feel like you're empty. And that's going to be another episode I talk about this season. Like you can't pour from an empty cup. Like you have to be filled at some
Right.
point. And whether that's taking a 45-minute nap, whether that's decompressing over the weekend, whether that's doing a Sunday reset and you're getting off all social media, whatever it is you need to do to get to the place where you can begin to navigate healthy in a more healthy space, that's what you got to do. And other people that love you and care about you, they'll understand and respect that you're prioritizing your own mental sanity and mental health because that's important in order for you to function and then do all the things that people kind of expect from you.
Exactly. I agree 100%. And the third one, it says you're more reliable and trustworthy, assertive. When you say I need or I want, you are setting proper boundaries for yourself, which makes you more reliable to everyone around you. It says it can be difficult to trust someone with no boundaries. So keep that in mind when you're a person who just says yes to everything, or you don't speak up when you know something's wrong and you know you should speak up because you feel
And
that.
people take advantage of that. People will take
Yeah.
advantage of the fact that you don't speak up for yourself because people can be trash. So there's that.
Family members too.
People include family members. I don't use family names. I don't use cousin, aunt, mom, dad. You a person. I don't give a damn about your title. You a person, and I'm gonna treat you as such. This
Exactly.
is probably why I ain't got a good relationship with my people, so don't listen to me.
Well, look, it ain't never too late. Things can change. It's just
We're gonna pray on it.
I think that in those situations, it's just kind of like things take time. Now, I don't believe that person that time heals all because that's not true. Because people would die holding a grudge. People will. So we got to get out that. Well, not you, but just in general, as people, we
Yeah,
got to get out that logic of well, time heals. Not always. Sometimes it needs to be a conversation.
yeah, we got
Sometimes you
to
need to
work.
state what was going on. And I'm thankful that I've been in spaces where I can stand up and say, this, I ain't feeling this. And I'm gonna say it. And if you kind of brush me off, then I gotta go. And that's wherever. That is just any relationship, any job, any situation. I'm gonna say, and even with sponsorship and brand deals, which I'm sure if you ain't got a bunch of them yet, they coming. You gonna
Yeah.
stay rightfully because I used to just take stuff because I'm like, I'm just
Nope. You have to say no. If it doesn't align with like your agenda, your time, your schedule, like you have to look at everything as a perspective of time, value, and money. And talked about this on a friendship episode I did with my best friend last season. Like you have to analyze things and realize, and this is everything, even friendships, because this episode was talking about how friendships have red flags. And so
Mhm.
you have to begin to analyze things from an evaluation of time, value, and money. How much time is this going to take? What does that commitment look like? What value does this add? Or does it devalue you in some way? And then there's a money aspect to all of it too. And so I know in the beginning, like a year ago when I started getting brand deals, it's like, yeah, like all the free like ambassador, like partnership, like, yeah, okay, yeah, I'll do it. And now for me, if I do anything that's like an ambassador deal or something that is like a free deal, it is because I truly believe in the brand and it is a big brand. Like I did something with Good American and I did it because like I truly like Good American and I believe in the brand and it's also Good American. But
Right.
the commitment that they asked from me made sense because it was a free deal. Like if they were asking for all this crazy stuff, it would have just been no. But like I think too, like that's also trying to create a boundary in that space because it's like I know my worth, I know the quality of content that I have. I know that if I post something, I know the projections that it's going to do, and I'm organically bringing you like a buyer or a potential buyer. And so I think we have to start looking at it like that too, like as content creators or folks on like the internet that hold these spaces and say like I know my worth and I'm valuable. And so there's a cost and there's a price that comes with that. Like we need to take rate sheets seriously. We need to look at the algorithm and the engagement and like what we're actually doing on these pages because these folks are going to nickel and dime you and you don't even realize the power of your influence. And I'm
Mhm.
over those days. Like I know the power of my influence. I just did a reel the other day and I'm at like 80K. Like I'm like, please, like Carisha, no.
Stop playing with me. Stop
Stop
playing
playing with
with us.
me. Stop playing with me. What is a free deal? I don't even know what that means. What is
And
that?
and
No,
that's the
please.
thing, and I be trying to tell people like Well, I discussed this a few weeks ago with one of she's a content creator too, Dose of Jazz, and we were talking about how
Oh,
people,
she follows me. I know who that is.
yeah, we did an
Yeah.
episode about how to bounce back in your quarter life crisis when something happens traumatic. Y'all got to go
Okay.
check that out if y'all haven't. But basically, we talked about how I don't want no 10% off. I don't want no free shipping. If it ain't free, I don't want it. Them days of the 10%, you laughing because them days over.
Get your coupon code. Now, what I will say, so I'm a brand ambassador for Caraway. So Caraway Home, they do pots and pans and all cookware. And I cook a lot and I love cooking. It's one of my true passions. Like in my downtime, I am looking at recipes. I enjoy cooking. So doing that partnership, and I actually pitched to them, and it's a long-term partnership. And it started off like, coupon code. My thing is like you have to decide, because what I hate is when people say don't take anything free, don't take any of these ambassador deals, and I hate that because like you have to decide what's important to you, how it aligns with your brand, and how you can see this long term, because also some of these deals can end up turning into long term deals, but you
Right.
have to be strategic and be like, do I have the capacity to take on 6 or 7 or 8 or 10 brand ambassador deals? Probably not, right? So you need to be strategic about that. It's like for me, like I took on that deal because one, like the cookware is amazing. So I got the cookware. And then two, like I actually believe in the brand. And that is something I actually really strive towards. And I tell you all the time, I want to stay very committed to this, is that when I work with a brand, it has to be a brand that I believe in. I don't want to succumb to doing things because there's money aligned with it. Also, this is
Mhm.
something part-time for me. I have a real job. So it's very different than the hustle for someone who does this full time. I don't have to make money off of this. I do this shit because I'm passionate about it. The money portion, I love it, but that's extra. That's a bonus. So
Yeah.
I'm not gonna work with a brand that I don't believe in. Like I'm gonna work with the brands that I truly feel like are gonna add value to my community and the brands that I use. Like I get a lot of skincare for free because I've been very like vocal about my skincare journey and my hair journey and all those things. So I get those things free and they don't push me to like post a bunch of content around it. So like that stuff, I'm gonna take that stuff all day long. And if it's a great product, I'm gonna push it to my audience. Now it's gonna be in a story. I'm not gonna like go and curate all these like, reels and I ain't doing that. But like I want to get behind brands that I can believe in, like that I use, that I know that I can speak volumes to. I don't want to just do it, because this is the issue where you come in with just oversaturation of content. People just posting and posting and posting because they got a free kit of shit in the mail. I don't want to do that. I don't care. I don't want to do that.
You talking to the wrong person. I totally get it. All right, y'all. Let's move into the final segment for today, and this one is called Game Time. The title of this game is Blunt or Rude. I'm gonna name a few scenarios, and I want Miss She So Blunt to tell us whether or not that's blunt or nah. You just being rude.
I
All right,
love this.
you ready?
I'm ready. I'm always ready.
All you stay on ready. You ain't got to get ready.
Say I ain't never got to get ready.
All right. The first one: sending your food back and letting the waiter know the food was not what asked for.
That is not rude. Blunt. Transparent, upfront.
Somebody reaches out to you for a brand deal and asks for your social security, and you block them.
They asked for what?
Your social security.
In that instance, I think you're allowed to be a little rude because that is way too invasive and no one needs my social security number for anything ever. Ever.
Somebody sees you pumping gas at the gas station and proceeds to, as the old people say, court you. And you tell them, you respectfully tell them no.
That's just blunt, straight to the point, not interested.
All right. One of your friends comes to you venting about their problems, and you tell them, I don't want to hear this today, and change the subject.
That's rude as fuck. That is rude. There's a different way you can go about that. I experience also people dumping on me. So sometimes I'm just like, hey, I'm having a really stressful day. Like, is this something like I really need to be present for, that you really want advice for? And then I'll stop them and I'm like, okay, can we talk about it tomorrow? Or is this really urgent? Because I'm not in the space to receive it. So I can't even respond as a good friend because of my own personal stuff. And I would never want to do that. So that's rude. I think the better way to kind of do that is just be the friend that says like, hey, like I got a lot on my plate. Can we talk about this another day? Or hey, like I'm not able to give you really good advice right now. Can I give you advice about this another time? Like I have a friend, she's dating and they're talking about marriage. And she asked me for advice about marriage. And I said, I'm probably not the best person to do that for you in this moment because I don't want my advice in this moment to be biased or to I don't want to project my own feelings about how all the ways I'm feeling right now. I don't want it to jade you and that wouldn't be fair to you. So I can't give that to you right now. And
All
I'm
right.
just got to do it like that.
Yeah. Yeah. That was kind of a double whammy because if somebody always complaining about the same stuff, it's like you need to say, you may not need to do it like that, but just kind of say, look, like we said we was gonna talk about it after the third time we was done, and you bringing it back up, so I can't be there for you. So
Yeah, you're emotionally draining the fuck out of me.
all right, somebody calls you asking for some money, and they always ask you for money, and you go off on them.
I mean, that sounds justified.
Yeah.
That sounds justified. I don't do the money game unless you are really, really close to me. And I don't and whatever you're asking for, I don't need because I've always gone by the rule of like if someone is asking you for money, you do not lend money if you need
Same.
it. Yeah, like you gotta you basically are when someone asks you for money, you are giving it to them. Okay.
Mhm.
So like you need to be comfortable whatever somebody's asking you that you are giving it away. And there are not a lot of instances where I'm comfortable giving any dollar, not American black ass dollar to nobody. So if you have asked multiple times and I go off, I mean, it might be justified. I'm just saying.
All right, last question. Getting on a podcast and talking about your life and topics in a way that is more assertive than others.
Oh, that's so blunt. That is so blunt. That is fine. That's totally the definition of who I am. And I'm never going to be apologetic about it. It's how I show up in every single space that I hold. And I hope and I want to consistently be able to do that, like as this progresses. So, no, that's blunt.
All right. All right, let's move to the final segment, which is for everybody. You know how it goes. The question and challenge for the week. I want to ask you, do you stand up for yourself? And if so, how? And again, y'all, make sure y'all are tagging me. Make sure y'all when I drop the question in my story. Remember, I took a month off because y'all wasn't participating like y'all normally do. But I'm back with doing it. I'm trying to give y'all free money. Remember, you answer every question and push your name to the drawing. Then once you get into the drawing, 3 people get a chance to win. One person win $10, one person win $5, another person win 25 on Cash App. Yeah, it's free money for answering the question for the betterment of you. Like, come on, y'all been struggling. It was a time when I tell you it mug was loaded. This time it ain't been so much, but we're gonna get it together. All right, so we've been on here for a while. So to end off, do you have anything to plug? Of course, we're gonna put your info in the show notes and all that. But anything else you want to plug or say before you go?
I just appreciate you for having me on today. I would love for every listener to check out the podcast, She's So Blunt Podcast. It is on every streaming platform where you listen to your favorite podcast, Spotify, Apple, iHeartRadio, all the things. So I'm looking forward to being able to connect with some new listeners. You can also follow me on Instagram at She's So Blunt. And then the podcast now has its own page at She's So Blunt Pod. I also drop a monthly newsletter where I talk about things that I believe are also super important as an extension of some of the episodes. I drop amazing like buys and things that I recommend outside of brand deals that you can grab. And I curate this community to be a space where we can all find a place to just stay connected. And whether that be finances, whether that be your own self discovery journey, whether that be you standing in your own truth or redefining your truth, like
Mhm.
those are the conversations that I want to have. And I want you all to join me for those conversations.
All right, y'all. I can tell you, I peeped and been a viewer of her stuff, or listener, I should say. And I'm telling y'all, she gonna be on there with Charlamagne. I'm gonna reach out to her on her network. She gonna be trying to figure out the next. She gonna have that good problem where she try to figure out who do I want to sign with, Death Row Or do I want to
Not
side with
death
bad boy?
row. Oh my God, not death row. We are
Or-
manifesting that in the name of Jesus. Okay. I don't know about death row, but we are manifesting big things for all of us. I love connecting with Black creators. I love this community of creators and this safe space that we've all allowed ourselves to just hone into who we are. And I really appreciate you for having me.
Yes, definitely. And we'll definitely be connected in the future. All right. So that's all day, y'all. Next week, we tuning in to track 6. It's gonna be a good one. All right. PSA signing out. Always remember, keep your head up like your neck hurt. Remember who you are and make your mind up. Don't let it make you.